Hey everyone, Josh here with Fresh Start Customs, and today we're going to be talking about Xtool software that comes with their lasers. Specifically today we're going to be using the M1 as an example here, and then we're also going to be using a file similar to this one, it's slightly different, for this retro TV stand as an example, and we're going to add in a few other files and examples as well. This is going to be a longer video because there is a lot to unpack in this software, and before we even get started, I do want to say this is one of the best laser softwares that I've ever seen come with an actual machine. Obviously, there's paid versions that you can do, but with the best free version, I would assume that this is going to be the best one that I've seen so far, and I'll show you all the features, exactly why, and there's two features that you don't want to miss that should be with every single laser in my opinion. So let's go ahead and jump into this. Let's go over to the software now. Alright everyone, so as you can see we are now in the Xtool Creative Space software. You can download this for free from going to xtool.com/software, and you can actually play around with it on your own if you want. But this comes with any Xtool machine. Today we're talking about the M1 still. But this will work with any of their machine, and this is probably the greatest program that I've ever seen come with laser. To my understanding from past research here, it looks like this was rough in the past, but now it's very polished. It's very impressive in my opinion. Obviously you could do like a paid program if you want to, but this free program is very well put together here. And I'm going to show you guys everything that's involved with it and what you can expect whenever you get like an Xtool machine. If you end up getting an Xtool machine, I do have some affiliate links down below that does help the channel, so I'd appreciate that. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump right into this. I've got a few examples. We're going to go ahead and import one here. We're going to import this little TV holder, or gift card holder. And then just imagine I've got a full sheet of wood in here. I put a smaller sheet on purpose in here for later on in this video. I'm going to show you the coolest feature ever in this program, and it should be on every laser in my opinion. But just imagine this is a full sheet. I'm going to just put it in the corner for now so you can kind of see what's going on here. On import, the blue lines are scored in my file, and the red lines are set to cut. So this imported perfectly. This is exactly what I want. One thing you have to be aware of is when you click on something, they are all ungrouped by default. So you can click on the whole layer at once, and then you can click group up top. And now when you click on it, it'll all be grouped together if you want to select the whole section at one time. And then I'll show you settings that'll make it easier to select these inside parts as well here in just a second. So you can do the same thing for like your red fill here or your red cuts. We'll group that as well. And then this is pretty much easily to be moved around now. That way you don't mess it up, and you could technically group this whole thing together if you wanted to. So that's super easy, super simple, and super basic. But with the settings I was talking about, let's jump into the settings at the top. This is probably the most important thing you want to set up first, depending on your country or region. I set mine to inches. It came by default to millimeter. And then I turned on this precise vector path selection. I recommend turning this on because if you have a cut line over top of a photo and you need to get behind that cut line, the actual path of the cut line gets in the way. So with this on, it'll let you select just the outside line of the vector easier without actually just clicking on the bounding box of this. Hopefully that makes sense here. But everything else, this is the settings that it came default with, and I just left everything else exactly how it is. You can check for updates as well, and then you can go into developer mode if you know any of that, but we're going to leave that alone for this video here. Now that we have the settings out of the way and you know how to import a file and group the files based on layers, we're going to go ahead and show you another example really quick before we get into these other things, just to show you one other thing that I did notice. So we're going to delete this one, we're going to go back to image, and then we're going to upload this Scan Me display. And as you can see, I'm going to move this over top here so you can see what's going on. The engrave areas come in as a score if you import a vector. So what you're going to do is you're going to do the same thing as before. We'll select that black layer, and then we're going to group it. And then now I can change it to an engrave here, and it's perfectly set up exactly how the file should be now, where the engrave is black, the score is blue, and then the red outline is cut. So just a heads up on that, if you want to engrave vector files, just make sure that you reset the group to group it together, and then change it to an engrave versus a score whenever it imports. Same thing with the red cut lines. Make sure you group those together again, and then make sure they're set on cut instead of score. Everything imports as a score here, so just a heads up on that. Just make sure you have all of your settings set correctly whenever you actually have it selected off to the right hand side. And we'll get to the settings here in just a second as well. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way, and then we're gonna go ahead and start on the left hand side here. As you can see, this is how you import your files. You can also open or create new files right from here as well, so you can export it as a SVG file as well. And then they did add this feature recently, which is like projects in the cloud. So you can save your projects to the cloud now. You get 10 free projects. Another thing you can do is insert like lines, rectangles, or circles, or you can do different shapes. They have hundreds and hundreds of different shapes here that you can add. That's super cool. These are paid features on Glowforge, and you get it for free here, so that's awesome. Next up, we have the text. You just click text. It says hello here. We're going to place it right here, and I'm going to leave that here because I'm going to show you that really cool feature I talked about earlier in just a second. The next thing is your vector. This is basically where you can draw like a cut line on your own, like free-handed. It seems to be pretty straight lined here from what I've seen. I haven't figured out a way to actually curve that by hand. So if you need something where you're gonna just use straight lines to make a cut, like a cutout here, you can do that. We'll go ahead and clear that out of the way. Next up is their Xart. Xart is kind of like AI photos. You type in a prompt here, and then it'll put out an image here. Super advanced. It looks really great. Now, one thing you have to keep in mind here, it does cost points, and then you get 500 points when you get your machine. Now, in order to get points, you have to like share creations or share inspirations in order to get points. So if you want to use more after you run out, you'll have to do that, and you can check that under point rules here. And then you can also do like an image to image where, let's say this was our image, you would drag and drop it here, type in a prompt, and it would try and make a similar image to it based on your prompt. So next up, kind of like that Scan Me display, you see a QR code on there. Instead of manually creating those, you can create them super fast right here just by clicking QR code. You'll type in the content of it, and then you can choose like advanced settings to make sure what the fault tolerance is. You can choose that as well. And then it'll import a QR code all on its own there. So just for example, we'll type in freshstartcustoms.com, and then we're going to hit save, and right there is our QR code. It's instantly imported. You can do the exact same thing with barcodes. So if you use barcodes as well, this is super fast. You don't have to go through any third-party websites or anything. It's super accurate. I'm pretty impressed that that's in here as an option for free. That's awesome. Next, we have the options up top here. We have like undo, redo. You've got an outline where you can create an outline. As you see around the text here, it'll create that outline if we want it. It created an outline there. I'm going to undo that by doing Control Z. And then we also have an array, so you can choose like if you want this hello to show up in like a grid pattern or a circular pattern. We can do that. Let's just choose grid to show you an example. I'm going to just click OK, but you can adjust the spacing as you need. And as you can see, this is a perfect grid that are just basically touching each other just off a little bit. but you can adjust that as needed. I'm going to undo that again. And then another cool feature, like the coolest feature I've seen with this array button here, is the material test array. So what that is let's create like a little rectangle. We're going to just create one about this size. That looks good. And then when you have it selected, you're going to click array, and we're going to choose material test array. And what this is going to do, this is going to create a grid pattern for a test material. So you can set like power, speed, and then you can choose what distance you want between speed and power on both sides and how many columns you want. And I'm going to just hit OK so you can see what I'm actually talking about since it's behind here. But when you click OK, it creates an actual pattern here for you, so you can do test materials. You can print this off on your material, and then all of these settings are already preset, so you'll need to ungroup them if you want to see them. But if we click like this one that's 160 speed and 10 power, if you come over here, it's 10 power and 160 speed already set up for like your score test here. So that's super cool. That is probably one of the handiest features. I think every laser should have that one. That's just one of the features in this machine that I really think that everybody should have in every laser. Now, next up we have the Smart Fill. So Smart Fill is if you have like a bunch of tags in here. So let's say dog tags, and you put the word hello on it. You can actually hit Smart Fill, and it'll automatically put that on every single dog tag automatically. Some of them may be upside down, so you'll have to redo that or move them slightly, but it's super fast than trying to align it manually. Next up to the right here, you have the group, the ungroup. I kind of showed you those already. And then you have align and arrange. So you can actually, arrange will bring it forward or backwards on your layer, depending on where it is on the layer here. Align is where it'll align two objects. So let's use this text, for example. If we highlight both, we can click on align, and we can do it horizontally, and it'll center them for you. Next up, you have combine. So combine is where you create, like, let's say two objects. We'll use this square, and we'll use a circle like this. And if you highlight both, you can actually either unite, subtract, unite, overlap, or subtract and overlap. These are features that are within Illustrator, but they have them built in right here. Unite is probably the one you'll use the most. We'll unite both of those images together, and as you can see, they're both connected now. It's one cut path there. So that's a super handy thing to have. Another thing is reflect. So let's say you don't like it to the left, we'll reflect it the other way to the right. Or if you don't like it at the top, we'll reflect it down for the square. And that's pretty much reflect there. Now, we're going to focus on the right-hand side now. Well, before we do that, I just wanted to really quickly show you this. I would assume that you guys know what this is here, but this basically shows you the position of where this file is, which will change based on the position. So if you need to place this in the exact same position all the time, you can do that. And then this is also the size of your piece here. So if I change, since this is locked, it'll change both sides. But if I change this down to 2 inches, it'll also move down on this side here. If you want to unlock it, you can then change this, let's say 2.5, and it'll stretch it out without changing this side here. So that's pretty basic stuff. You also have like rotate, and then you can also do like corner radiuses as well, just by changing those if you do have corners. Now we're going to focus on the right-hand side here. These are all of your settings. So by default, like I said earlier, score is going to be on all imports, it seems like. That's one thing that hopefully they'll change in the future, is if you have a fill inside of an SVG file, I wish it would import as a fill right away. But it's not that hard to change. You'll just select your object here and then choose engrave if you want it to be like a fill versus a score or a cut line. And then you can set your settings manually if you want to, or if you click off of all objects, you can choose a material from the list that they think is going to be a good setting for you. So let's say we use basswood here. It'll then auto adjust the material thickness. And if your material thickness isn't exactly this, you can use auto measurement. To use auto measurement, there'll be a little red dot in your laser software whenever you open the lid. You'll just make sure that your material lands on that red dot. Mine's usually right about here. And then you'll click this button here to auto measure. I'll just go ahead and click it so you can see that it'll update. I've got a little bit thicker wood, so that should update here. Yeah. So it basically updated based on my thickness of wood there. Next up, you also have the height, like raised height. What this is if you don't have your slat panel triangular prisms in there, you'll choose no. If you do, you'll choose yes. If you're going to cut, you'll want those in there. And then that will change based on your auto measurement here. Next up, you have auto planning for the path processing. What that is basically all of these in one is going to be engraved automatically by the software here. Or you can do it by layer. So if you had multiple layers like we did earlier, you can choose by layer and choose what scores or engraves or cuts first. So you can do that as well. Now, lastly, let's go ahead and delete these. So we only have one item here. We've got this hello text here. This is the coolest feature I've ever seen in a laser, and this should be in every single laser that I was telling you about, is framing. So framing is one of the coolest features that are available for any laser. Usually what you can do is you can just click process. This is to start the actual cut. But it'll give you the option of framing right here in the top right corner. We're going to go ahead and click framing. I'll show you what it does on the laser. What it does is it's going to actually outline where your laser is going to engrave at. So let me go ahead and click framing here. And then you're going to go to your machine and click the start button when it's on this framing section. And I'll throw in a video clip of it framing and show you what that looks like here. Alright, you guys, so as you can see that actual framing process being done on there, basically all it did was it went around this word hello in the same section that I had it placed in. It's super cool. That way you're ensuring that it's very accurate. Once you're good, you see me click complete framing there. You'll click start and your machine will actually start printing whatever you have in the machine itself. One thing you got to get used to is you can't actually hit the X button here. I almost did it again. I'm used to exiting out of whatever window I'm on. You got to make sure you hit back so you don't exit out of the whole program itself. So that's pretty much it for the basics here. Now let me go ahead a little bit more advanced. We're going to show you importing like a wooden background image that I have here. This is just an example. Obviously you do it more with like a photo like this of a person, but I didn't want to share any photos of any people that I might not know on here. But what you can do is you can create like a shape. This is a new feature they just added here. We'll create a shape here, and in this new feature you're going to highlight both the background and the top layer here. And you can right click and we'll do make a clipping mask. You can actually drag this over whatever part of the image you want. So let's say we like this here, and then we'll hit done. And now that image is within that, that shape as a clipping mask here. And you can actually edit the photos itself. So you can edit the image by erasing stuff, or you can trace it. My personal thing that I like is the grayscale. So you can actually kind of get like an idea of what the scale looks like on grayscale, so you can make it lighter. So let's say we like something like this and we just want to put fake wood grain in this project here. That would look great just like that. And then you have options that you can do filters like sketches, comic look, etc. You can do any kind of editing with your photos here. And lastly, with the settings, this is going to be an engrave automatically. This will be what's like a bitmap engrave, and then you can kind of adjust your settings here as well, just like you did on the right hand side before. So that pretty much covers all of the internal features. And then lastly, there's even more here. I didn't mention this refresh button. So if you change your material inside, you'll want to click refresh each time. So we'll click refresh, and that will refresh the image on the bed here. So there's all sorts of features that are involved in this. I also don't think that I showed you this as well. So on the right hand side at the top, you'll be able to laser engrave flat objects, cylindrical objects. You can open the plane at the bottom. You can do blade cutting or print and blade cut. So there's all sorts of options that you have here available. And then in the very top right corner, you have these free projects here. We're going to click on that. I'm going to show you this. These are all projects that are submitted by other Xtool members, like creators. And this is how you get those points, is you share projects. So there is so many projects in here that you can make and just import straight to your Xtool here. Super cool. I'm going to back out of this here. And then you have basically your point history and your settings here for your login. And then you have like the ability to shop and get some help. And you have like the announcements tab with brand new announcements as well. So that's pretty much it for the basics here. I know I probably missed something, but hopefully I covered everything. I know this has been kind of a long video, but I'm trying to cover everything possible that I could in one video here for you guys. If there's something specific that you want to see, let me know down in the comments below. Other than that, we'll catch you guys in the next one.